The Dangers of Miralax. It's safe to say if you're a parent whose child struggles with constipation that you've probably heard of Miralax. While it's prescribed and used often, it's rarely a parent's first choice as it comes with quite a few documented side effects, including behavior struggles, dependency, increased bloating, cramping, and gas, and that's just to name a few. What's the point here? Well, first off, it's that in most cases, many cases, all cases, when pediatrics, Miralax is not needed as a tool to help constipation, and there's many other safe and effective alternatives that exist. The primary cause of constipation in kids is signal, brain to the gut motility, movement, and plumbing of the fluids, getting it out. So moms, especially if you have young kids, this is for you. If you're in a mom group, please share this around. There may be something that a mom in your group is dealing with that she hasn't really told anybody about. This is your chance to be the person that sheds some light on the mystery for them that really helps and can make that child better. So I recently had a consultation, and with permission of the mom, I could share this story. Had a talk with a little boy named Justin's mom, and she mentioned over the phone that she didn't know that it could make his behavior worse. It being Miralax. And it's one of those things. Her doctor did not tell her that one of the side effects could be these heavy swings and behavioral changes. But that's what Justin's mom was sharing with us when we were deep diving into another part of his case as to why his behavior had just really blown up in the past 6 months before they sought care. You see, every case is like an onion. There's different layers, and it's often the outer shell layer that brings the most attention. The behavioral issues. What are they there for? Well, when we started looking back and when we take a history, we look at how was things before the baby was conceived? How was the pregnancy? How was the birth? How were the milestones? All of these things in line. And in looking through a detailed case history like that, we found out that Justin had been battling chronic constipation. And I'm not talking for a month or two. It was since he was an infant. And now we're dealing with severe behavior and anger issues, even getting violent with his sister and other kids, throwing stuff at his parents, throwing stuff at his grandparents. He'd already been taking Miralax for a while. And the next thing in line was that ADHD diagnosis. Now, the other part of the puzzle is, how old is Justin? Justin's 3 years old. This is a lot for this kid to now have a recommendation of ADHD meds layered on top of the Miralax that he's already taking, on top of this stressed out nervous system, on top of this burnt out, irritated, interfered with, subluxated, sympathetic, and parasympathetic parts of his nervous system. Come on. Now, the thing is, when we deep dive into what the heck is Miralax, because it sounds like a miracle, right? Miralax, miracle. They got the marketing down pretty good on that. But in the early 2000s, they started prescribing Miralax. And the main ingredient of it is polyethylene glycol 3350, which, I mean, hey, I like the Sci-Fi Channel. I like some futuristic stuff. This sounds like something that Arnold Schwarzenegger would have had in Total Recall. But the intention in the design is to help the digestive tract hold more water, which also pulls more water into the stool. This helps stool pass easier as it's softer. Now, Miralax often comes in a powder to mix with water or juice, and while dosage recommendations are specific for adults, it's recommended that you reach out to your provider for kids under 17 because, it's not actually fully tested on kids. But hey, let's prescribe it to them. It'd be a great idea. So while pulling water into the stool seems like a very natural softening solution, the ingredient, polyethylene glycol 3350 from the future with its laser beams and stuff, and its mechanism in the body aren't natural at all. And this is where the whole, is it safe for kids, comes into talk. Well, in 2014, the FDA did a study, a looking back study where they examined cases and they looked at 167 kids that had been taking Miralax. You know what they found? Severe emotional and psychiatric side effects. Current use is considered off label, and while many pediatricians will recommend its use for constipation, there are many other sites and experts that have documented common side effects that actually increase bloating, increase gas, increase cramping, diarrhea, and additional stomach pain and pressure. That polyethylene glycol 3350, the mechanism of retaining water is that it works against the body's natural process of nutrient fluid absorption. So altering this process does provide temporary relief, but long term, it's working against the absorption. And it not only changes or affects the biochemistry of the body, but it also changes the way that our brain can communicate with our digestive system. Communication and coordination primarily happens through that vagus nerve in the autonomic nervous system, that parasympathetic system, that rest, digest, sleep, eliminate, the system we want our kids to be in. Yeah, it just gives it a backhand. When this interference, this slap, this irritation, this subluxation happens, we develop dysautonomia, or more specifically, the kids taking Miralax develop dysautonomia. The communication between the brain and the gut happens through the vagus nerve and that parasympathetic portion of the autonomic nervous system. Now, usually we want to see this working very well in young kids, but when we have things like birth trauma or any sort of interference, irritation, subluxation to this system, it puts them in a state of dysautonomia. When dysautonomia occurs, common things that we see are slowed digestive motility and constipation. Now, developmentally, this is when kids are developing their digestive system, building that gut bacteria that should be happening within that first 4 months of life. That newborn's laying the foundation with easy to digest breast milk, or in some cases, formula. And when the baby grows, this simple process gets more complex to be ready for solid foods at that 6 month mark and more diverse foods going forward. So simply put, by following these developmental milestones, the brain signals begin to work together. Remember, nerves that fire together, wire together. They stay working together, and they're the building blocks for this intricate balance of digestion and elimination outward and absorption of nutrients inward. So when we throw Miralax into the mix, we get those side effects. And medications have pros and cons, and some are life-saving, some are not. But the most documented side effects, let's listen to these guys a little bit. I'm going to read from it. Bloating, stomach cramping, gas, nausea, stomach pain pressure, swelling in the stomach area, vomiting, and diarrhea. Now, basically, you take everything that you get along with constipation, you poop a little bit more, but you keep all that stuff. Like, come on. And these parent groups that have come aboard for the past 10 years are showing experiences with their own children's struggles with the medication and the documented side effects. And there's not been really a definitive answer. These parents are experiencing things with their kids like severe behavioral side effects, such as anxiety, mood swings, anger, paranoia, and personality changes. Well, now, while this is still in debate on the association side of each effect academically, parents see what parents see. You know, one of the things that I make very clear when I talk to moms and dads is that mom and dad gut, that feeling you get, that intuition you have about your child is very important. So these experiences from parents, caregivers, clinicians going forward, they should not be ignored. So really, when we're looking at the causes of constipation in kids and then the natural alternatives that are safe and effective for helping with chronic constipation, we know that limited signals from the brain to the gut and the gut to the brain, that talking back and forth, interference, irritation, subluxation, primarily directed by the vagus nerve, remember, which is very easily irritated, interfered with, subluxated within birth trauma, primarily directed by the vagus nerve. And if the body is not getting those parasympathetic, calming signals to put the gut to rest, to relax and digest, then digestion is taking a back seat to a busy brain child. They're just stuck in that fight or flight mode. That sympathetic nervous system is going to the moon, and they can't rest, they can't digest, they can't even sleep. This will drive a lack of intestinal motility and movement. We can call this bad plumbing. If your kitchen sink's got an S-trap instead of a P-trap, if you get some bad plumbing, it's not necessarily the physical nature of the intestines, but it's the way that that parasympathetic nervous system activates the smooth musculature to push that along and increase the gut motility. When that smooth muscle is constantly getting that fight or flight signal, it ain't going to do it. When that smooth muscle is constantly getting that sympathetic fight or flight signal to it, it's going to be less hydrated and it's not going to pass. So instead of using a medication to help from the outside in to help hydrate and thus soften that stool, address the cause. Get the signals from the brain to the gut working again with neurologically focused pediatric chiropractic care and getting them adjusted. Once you start to rebuild that neural connection, get that link working like it needs to, get that parasympathetic system ramped up and doing what it's got to, then add in the natural remedies to an already balanced, an already signaling brain gut connection. Things like plenty of water, magnesium, probiotics, enzymes, and reducing that sugar intake. So moms, dads, families, grandparents, caregivers, teachers, heck, doctors, pediatricians, if you guys are watching this, shoot me a comment. Share this. Get this information out. I'm here to work with you guys. I'm here to help your kids. You can hop on our website. If you want to talk more about this, you can get a 15-minute phone consultation completely free of charge. We'll deep dive through some history. We'll see if this is something that could help your child. Can't wait to talk to you. Can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to help your kids out. I'll see you soon.